while we were at the big one, I got set a challenge to make Darren Greenfield's favourite pudding, which is bread and butter pudding. I wasn't convinced it could be done on the Ridge Monkey, but I did promise that over the period of that weekend I would try it out, and I did. And it worked extraordinarily well. People who tasted it love it. I've made it again since for my family, and people who we've talked about it with really want us to make it. So I'm going to let you in on my bread and butter pudding secret. And you know the best thing about it? Everybody loves the crusts on the top of a bread and butter pudding. This has crusts on top and bottom, it's just heaven. So here we go, this is how we do it. First thing first, you obviously need your bread. We're going to butter it thickly. This is not for the healthy minded. This also will grease the pan and stop it sticking, and form that lovely golden flavoured crust that we all love. We're going to cut the crust off. There we go. We open our Ridge Monkey and we put butter side down. Okay. A bit like a jigsaw puzzle. We're going to butter another piece. Once again, we cut the crusts off. But this time, we're going to cut this piece in half, because that's going to fill these gaps here. And then I'm going to cut that one to fit in there. And then that one to go in there. Okay, that's our first layer. The next thing we need is a little bit of sugar. Now at the big one show I didn't have any sugar with me because I wasn't cooking that kind of stuff, and I had honey. So you could use runny honey, get the squirty stuff, and that will equally act as your sugar layer. So we're just going to sprinkle that on. There we go. Then we've got our fruit. This is raisins. So we're just going to sprinkle a layer of raisins on. Now again, at the big one, I didn't have any raisins because I wasn't cooking with them, but I had pears, so I did pear and honey bread and butter pudding. But this is a more traditional style. Okay. So now we go back to our bread again, because we're going to form yet another layer. This dish isn't really for the faint-hearted. We cut our crusts off. And then we're going to put butter up, because at some point during the cooking process we're going to flip the pan over. So we need to be able to have the butter crust on the top. Once again, we cut the crusts off. And we have to trim it to make the right size. I reckon we can get one more bit in there. Go. I'm just going to wedge that on there because I know it'll go in. It's all a bit crude, a bread and butter pudding, but it works, you know, and there's no point in fussing over it too much. Okay, we get rid of our crusts. And the next thing, you just need a container. We've got 1 egg. We'll just crack that. And we're just going to beat it up. Now if you're doing this at home, and if I was doing this at home, I'd add some vanilla essence. Just a tad, just for flavour. We haven't got that here. And then some milk. Now that amount of bread will take a surprising amount of milk. So we've got that kind of amount going on. And then the next thing is to gently pour it all the way over. You want to get the bread wet, and actually you want to get far more egg and milk in there than you think you're going to, because the whole thing needs to be saturated, and it will soak in if you keep adding, whoops, nice and slowly. There we go, that's all gone in, look. So the next secret to the bread and butter pudding is that you just leave it to sit for 10 minutes. So we're just going to leave it, and that egg and milk will just soak into the bread, which is really important because that's what makes the bread and butter pudding. Once it's sat for 10 minutes, we're going to start cooking it. We're ready to start cooking. I'm just going to sprinkle a very thin layer of sugar over the top of there, because with the butter and the sugar together, that just makes a lovely caramel fudgy heaven taste, really, to be honest. And then we're gonna cook it. And then we're gonna cook it. Now the secret of the bread and butter pudding is that we cook it really low and slow, because otherwise that bread will burn and that won't be pleasant. So I'm just setting the gas here onto low. We're going to shut the baby up and we're going to wait. Low and slow. Keith Lloyd was my hero. Lovely. Okay. So I'm smelling sugar and butter, that's always a good sign. Let's have a little look, see what's going on. Just a quick flip. Very gently lift the lid up. Hey, look at that. So we've got our crispy side going on. So we're going to leave it this way up. We now need to cook the underside, which is completely undone at the moment. As you can see, it's starting to souffle. It's getting firm, so the egg and milk is now setting. And as you can see, it's steaming away there. So now get the other side nice and crispy, and we have a bread and butter pudding. So as you saw, we've got our crispy side. As you can see, it's swollen up, puffed up like a souffle to fit the ridge monkey itself. So just to turn to the other side, as you will see, this now matches. Got a nice set egg and milk. It's risen, it's ready to go. So we'll turn the ridge monkey off. And just to show you, there we go. Look at that. If you could smell that now, you'd be wanting to tuck in, which is exactly what we're going to be doing. You've got the fruit, the sugar, just a very simple pudding by the bank. It's just starting to get chilly here now. It doesn't get much better than that, to be honest. Well, actually, it does get slightly better. You could soak the fruit in whiskey and do mad things like that, but we'll stop where we are. This is the pudding of the season.